At 4:17 a.m., I left my childhood home with three things: a duffel bag, my car keys, and a sealed envelope I hadn't even opened yet. By the time the sun rose, my mother was already on the phone telling relatives I'd run off, that I'd lost my mind, that I'd stolen from the family. But the part she never mentioned, the part she still won't admit, was what happened the night before. The night my parents sat across from me at our kitchen table and tried to auction off my future like it was theirs to spend. And when I said no, their faces changed so fast, I felt like I'd been talking to strangers. My name is Naomi Mercer. I'm 31 now. I have a steady job, my own apartment, and a life that finally feels like it belongs to me. But for most of my life, I was the quiet one, the easy one, the daughter who didn't cause trouble because I learned early that trouble didn't get solved in my house, it got punished. I grew up in a regular neighborhood outside Columbus, Ohio, the kind of place where lawns are trimmed, porch lights match, and neighbors wave like they're auditioning for a commercial. From the outside, we looked stable. Inside, we were a system. And every system has roles. My brother Dylan was the center of ours. Dylan was 8 years older than me, loud where I was careful, charming where I was cautious. My parents called him a risk-taker. Teachers called him bright but unfocused. The truth was simpler. Dylan learned early that if he fell, someone else would cushion the landing. When Dylan dropped out of community college, my dad said school isn't for everyone. When Dylan crashed a car, my mom said he was stressed. When Dylan borrowed money, my parents said he'll pay it back when he's steady. Steady never came, but the excuses always did. And me? I was the child who didn't make noise. The one who did her homework, got internships, worked double shifts, saved, planned, and swallowed disappointment like it was a vitamin. My mom used to smile at me and say, "You're so independent, Naomi." It sounded like praise. It wasn't. It was a job description. Independent meant don't ask, don't need, don't take up space. Because space belonged to Dylan. I didn't even realize I was starving until someone finally offered me food. That someone was my great-aunt Lorraine. Lorraine wasn't the sweet cookie, doily on the couch type of relative. She was sharp, observant, quietly powerful. She lived alone on the coast of Maine in an old cedar-shingled house that smelled like black tea and salt air. She had a way of looking at you that made you feel visible, like you existed as a full person, not as a supporting character in someone else's story. When I visited her, the world slowed down. She asked about my plans. Not the polite plans you say to end a conversation. The real ones. The ones you only admit when you're alone in your own head. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I had to earn the right to breathe. A few months before everything exploded, Lorraine invited me out for a long weekend. We cooked together, walked by the water, folded laundry side by side like it was a sacred ritual. On my last morning, she handed me a plain envelope. No dramatic speech, no guilt, no lecture, just a sentence. "This is for your future, not anyone else's." I didn't open it in front of her. Something about the way she said it made it feel like a promise, not a transaction. Later, alone in the guest room, I opened it. Inside was a transfer letter. Lorraine had moved a significant amount of money into an account under my name, money she'd set aside quietly for years. Enough to change my trajectory, enough to let me pivot into the career shift I'd been planning in secret. And I cried, not because I was greedy, not because I'd won. I cried because someone trusted me with my own life. I went home thinking, for once, I had something good that didn't come with strings. I didn't know my parents would treat it like a rope. The shift was fast. Too fast. The day after I got home, my mom asked if we could talk for a minute. Her voice had that careful sweetness she used when she already knew the ending. When I walked into the kitchen, my dad was already seated at the table like he was waiting to negotiate a contract. Dylan leaned against the counter, scrolling on his phone like this was background noise. My mom folded her hands. "Your brother's been under a lot of pressure." I didn't respond. I'd heard that sentence my entire life. My dad cleared his throat like he was about to deliver a weather report. "Some things didn't go the way he expected." Dylan finally looked up. It's temporary. Then they started listing numbers, bills, late notices, loan payments, opportunities that didn't pan out. And the strangest part was what they didn't say. No one asked about my weekend. No one asked what Lorraine and I talked about. No one asked what I wanted. My future wasn't in the room, only my usefulness. My mom leaned forward. We think that money your Aunt Lorraine gave you could really help right now. I blinked. Help who? My mom said it like I was slow. Dylan, of course. Family helps family. The words landed like a weight. I looked at Dylan, waiting for him to say something, anything, like a human being with shame. He just tilted his head. You're good with money, he said. You'll figure it out. My dad's jaw tightened. You can adjust your plans. Your brother doesn't have that flexibility. And there it was. They weren't asking. They were assigning. In that moment, it all clicked. Every time Dylan got rescued, every time I was told to be mature, every time my effort was treated like a renewable resource, I tried one last time to keep it calm. Why is it always me who has to sacrifice? My mom's smile fell away like a mask. Because you're capable. Because you're strong. Don't make this into drama. Dylan scoffed. You always do this. You act like you're the victim. I felt heat rise into my chest. This money is for my future. My dad leaned back slowly, eyes hard. You need to think very carefully about your answer. Not a suggestion, a warning. That night I lay awake replaying the conversation. Not the numbers, not the debt. What hurt was the ease with which my life became disposable. By morning, something in me wasn't angry. It was clear. If I gave in, I wouldn't just lose money. I'd lose the last piece of myself I still owned. The next evening, I said it. One word. Calm. Steady. No. The reaction was instant. My mom's voice dropped first. Don't be selfish, Naomi. My dad didn't raise his voice. That was worse. So you're choosing money over your family. Dylan laughed under his breath like this was entertaining. You'll get over it. You always do. And then it began, the guilt layering over threat. They talked about sacrifices, about all we've done for you, about how much pressure Dylan was under. They spoke like my future was an optional luxury, and Dylan's repeated disasters were a natural disaster. I felt myself doing the old thing, shrinking, nodding, trying to end the scene before it got worse. But I caught myself. I pushed my chair back and stood. I'm not giving him that money, and I'm done explaining. The kitchen went quiet in a way that felt unsafe. My dad stood too, stepping closer. If you walk away from this, don't expect us to keep pretending everything's fine. My mom folded her arms. You'll regret this. I went upstairs, heart pounding, and closed my bedroom door. My phone buzzed, then buzzed again. Messages from my parents, from Dylan. Not love, not concern. Control. That's when the truth hit me, clean and terrifying. They weren't upset because they loved me. They were upset because I wasn't obeying. I waited until the house went still. No yelling, no slamming doors, just the refrigerator hum and the tick of the hallway clock. I pulled out a duffel bag and packed slowly. Clothes, documents, laptop. And that envelope, Lorraine's transfer letter, went into a notebook sleeve like it was a heartbeat I couldn't risk dropping. Every sound felt too loud. The zipper, a floorboard, the click when I shut my phone off. At the front door, I paused. For a second, I wondered if anyone would notice, if anyone would stop me, if anyone would say, "Wait, talk to us, please." No one did. The cold air hit my face like reality. I sat in my car, shaking, hands locked on the steering wheel, and whispered something I'd never said out loud before. I'm choosing myself. I drove without a plan for the first 20 minutes, just distance. Then I knew exactly where I was going, the only place that ever felt safe. I arrived in Maine after dark. Lorraine opened the door before I could knock, like she'd been expecting the storm to finally reach her. Her eyes scanned my face. No judgment, no panic. Recognition. "You came," she said. I stepped inside, and the scent of tea and warm bread hit me like a blanket. We sat at her kitchen table, the same table where she gave me that envelope. My hands shook as I told her everything. I didn't dramatize it, didn't cry. I just told the truth, cleanly, carefully, like I was laying glass down on a table and trying not to cut myself. When I finished, Lorraine sat quietly for a moment. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. I wondered how long it would take. I looked up. "You knew?" "I suspected," she said. "Patterns repeat when no one interrupts them." She walked to the window and stared out at the dark yard. "Your parents have been laundering consequences for years, and Dylan learned he could call it love." My throat tightened. "They're going to tell everyone I abandoned them." Lorraine nodded once. "They already called me." My stomach sank. "What did they say?" Lorraine turned back, calm but steel underneath. "They said you were unstable, that you stole from them, that you ran." Anger rose in me like a flame finally getting oxygen. "That's not what happened." "I know," Lorraine said. "If it were true, you wouldn't be sitting here like you're afraid to breathe." She reached across the table and covered my hand. "You did the right thing." That night I didn't sleep much, not because I was afraid of the dark, because I knew something was coming, and I was right. The next afternoon, the doorbell rang. Lorraine didn't jump, didn't ask who it was. She walked to the door like she already knew. When she opened it, my parents stood on the porch, Dylan behind them. My mother's face twisted into instant theater. "Naomi, thank God. We've been so worried." I stayed in the hallway, silent. My father stepped inside without waiting to be invited, scanning the room like he was inspecting property. "This has gone far enough." Dylan didn't look at me. He looked at Lorraine. "We need to talk. This affects all of us." Lorraine closed the door behind them. The click echoed. "No," Lorraine said, her voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "This affects me." My mom tried the soft approach. "We didn't mean for things to escalate." "You meant for the money," Lorraine said. My father stiffened. "We meant family support." Lorraine's smile was thin. "You meant control." Dylan scoffed. "That's not fair. I'm trying to keep my business alive." Lorraine's eyes didn't blink. "With whose money, Dylan?" Silence. I finally spoke, voice steady. "You told her I stole it." My mom's eyes flashed. "We said you misunderstood." "You said I ran off," I said. "You said I was unstable." My dad waved his hand like facts were flies. "That's not the point." Lorraine turned to him. "Then let me make the point." She walked to a cabinet and pulled out a thick binder. A ledger. She set it on the table and opened it. "Every time I helped, I documented it," Lorraine said. "Every payment, every loan, every emergency that somehow belonged to Dylan." My father's face lost color. Lorraine flipped pages, dates, amounts, notes. "I asked you years ago to stop. You promised me you would." My mother's voice trembled. "We were just trying to help our son." "You were avoiding consequences," Lorraine said. Dylan stepped forward, defensive. "She doesn't need all that money. She's fine." That's when Lorraine raised her voice. Not loud, just final. She needed dignity. Dylan froze. Lorraine didn't stop. "You've had chances she never did, and you squandered them. Naomi is not your safety net." My father slammed his palm on the table. "You're turning her against us." Lorraine didn't flinch. "You did that yourselves." She looked at me. "Naomi, tell them." I inhaled. "I didn't insult you. I didn't threaten you. I just refused." My mother's tears turned sharp. "We raised you." "And I grew up," I said. Dylan laughed bitterly. "So that's it? We're just supposed to fail?" Lorraine met his eyes like a judge. "Yes." That single word hit the room like a gavel. "You will fail," Lorraine continued. "And you will learn, or you won't." but I will not pay to keep you comfortable in your own dysfunction." My father shook his head. "You can't do this." "I already have," Lorraine said. "Effective immediately, I'm ending all financial support. No more rescues. No more temporary help." My mother gasped like Lorraine had threatened violence. "You're choosing her over us?" Lorraine's expression softened just slightly. "No, I'm choosing honesty over manipulation." My father turned to me, eyes cold. "If you walk away now, don't expect to come back." I didn't blink. I already walked away. The air went still. Lorraine closed the binder. "This conversation is over." They left without another word. Dylan slammed the door on his way out. My mother didn't look back. And for the first time in my life, my body shook, not from fear, from relief. The messages kept coming for weeks. Anger, then panic, then rehearsed apologies that sounded like scripts. I didn't answer, not because I hated them, because silence was the only boundary they respected, and once the safety net disappeared, Dylan's world collapsed under its own weight. No more quiet bailouts, no more just this once, no more invisible money patching holes. His business folded, the debts came due. He moved back in with my parents, and suddenly, the house that used to revolve around him became a cage they all had to share. My parents cut back, sold things they once treated as untouchable, worked more than they planned at their age. For the first time, their choices came with consequences they couldn't outsource to me, or to Lorraine. The revenge wasn't screaming. It wasn't humiliation. It was reality. It was the quiet power of stepping aside and letting the truth do what truth always does, expose what was never stable. Life at Lorraine's house moved at a different pace. Mornings were quiet, afternoons were simple, and the air didn't feel like I had to earn it. I slept better. I laughed without checking the room first. I started building the life I'd been planning in secret, without permission, without bargaining, without shrinking. One evening, Lorraine poured tea and said, "They're learning." I nodded, and she added softly, "And if they don't, it won't be your burden anymore." She was right. The victory wasn't loud. No perfect apology, no movie scene reconciliation, just distance, clarity. And the quiet satisfaction of knowing that choosing myself didn't destroy the family. It only ended the illusion. I used to believe being a good daughter meant making myself smaller so everyone else could stand taller. Now I know better. Boundaries didn't make me cruel. They made me free. Walking away wasn't abandonment. It was survival. If you've ever been the easy one, the one expected to give more, swallow more, carry more, remember this. Love that demands your future isn't love. It's control. This is Revenge File Tales. If this story hit something real in you, like comment and subscribe, because the next case file is already open.